Welcome back.
You ready to get the show started?
That's not the real introduction. I am ready.
All right.
What is y'all's real introduction?
It changes every time.
We don't have an official one. It's disappointing.
So we're back with on the Movement RVA podcast. Joined today, not only by Jake. I always make this joke that Jake is a guest and he gets really mad about this.
You made it once. Now it's the second time.
Now it's the second time.
We're going to talk about it again.
But we're real.
An uncomfortable car ride.
Jake is the semi-permanent guest host. But our real guests are Morgan and Jason German.
Hey.
What's going on?
And we are in Columbus, Ohio at the world-renowned Strength Fest, also known as the Arnold.
What episode is this going to be?
God, 4?
Yeah, it's 4. We did 3 last night.
Nah, and today we're doing 4. We're on a podcast streak right now.
Probably going to do one in the car on the way back.
Yes.
I don't think that's really possible.
And we're going to talk about Morgan's experiences at the Arnold Amateur Strongman Contest.
Absolutely.
Well, I can say I didn't know what to expect when I got here. I didn't know it was going to be as large as it was. And then I didn't know it was going to be as weird as it was. There was a lot of orange people.
Totally weird.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of weird events. There's a lot of orange women walking around in bikinis. A lot of real jack guys walking around
The
oiled up.
biggest guys I've ever seen.
Guys whose biceps explode.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you guys saw this weekend?
I think it was a really old lady that was orange in a purple sequin bikini. What do you think, babe?
Yeah, walking through the convention center with her entire behind out. Yeah.
Just a thong-clad old lady.
Yep.
There was a lot of fake boobs, too. I mean, like, just huge. And I kind of didn't mind Jason looking at them because they were just huge. I looked.
It's not weird.
I looked as well.
There was some looking going on.
Lots of looking.
How do you feel, so seeing the Arnold and sort of the size it was, how does that experience compare to, like, nationals?
Let's give some background on Morgan real quick.
Morgan's been competing in strongman since, what, 2012?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that the other day when somebody posted a picture of the first strongman contest I did. I almost dropped a log on top of Jake.
Yep, I was the judge. I was sitting right in front of Morgan. I think it was also the first time we had done a live stream. So I had the camera pointing. The camera was pointing directly at Morgan. I was judging her in the very first attempt at any rep in the sport of strongman. You dropped it on you, right?
I dropped it and fell backwards and fell over. And then I told Jason I was quitting.
Let's say you didn't quit right then.
I tried to. I went to the car and told Jason I was going home.
True story. She runs outside, and we're in the parking lot. She says, "I'm done. Let's leave right now. I don't want to continue. Let's just leave. I'm not doing the rest of this." And here she is, 8th strongest woman in the world. So
I feel like there's some lessons there. Like if you drop something on your head the first rep and then you go on to become a internationally competitive strong woman.
Internationally.
Now that you beat somebody from Finland.
England.
England.
It was from England and Australia, so.
So that means, you're now internationally competitive.
So she did her first contest in 2012.
Yes.
What happened after that?
A lot more contests, right?
Yeah, it was a lot more local contests for like the next year. And then we did nationals last year in October. And that was in Reno. That was really weird too. It was in the middle of the street outside of the Circus Hotel. So it was another little freak show. But things didn't go as well as I planned during nationals either. I kind of, first events of the day always go bad for me, and I ran off crying during that event too. Told Jason I was leaving as well. So
This is a pattern.
And then she ended up coming in 4th and qualifying for the Arnold.
Hey, I was about to say, wasn't that the contest where you qualified for the Arnold?
yes,
Which is where we're at now.
Yeah, I remember texting Jake and told him I was quitting and leaving.
I got many a pessimistic text message earlier in the day.
She threatens to quit strongman pretty much once a week. So
I think we pretty much booked it into the schedule this time. It's like the 3-hour period at which Morgan was no longer a strongman competitor, and then we went out to dinner and it was fine, right? So
lesson at home: you can want to quit, you just can't quit.
Well, I've kind of learned that I have to be a better loser because we have a 7-year-old child who is watching us, and he kind of gets a lot of hints from seeing me compete, and I've tried to kind of gauge that in so he'll be better at losing because he's a lot like me, and when he loses, he'll cry too, or if he doesn't hit at baseball, he'll cry, so I've been trying to reel this in so it's better for our child.
I feel like I always try to encourage people to compete, whatever it is. That's why I think at our gym we have a lot of people who have done strongman or Olympic weightlifting, other things like that. I think it can be a very rewarding thing if you have the right mindset, but also can be a really challenging thing if you don't do as well as you expected. So I guess what are the things you found in terms of how do you mentally prepare yourself and sort of what are you ready for when you go out to competitions?
To get mentally prepared, I kind of just block out everything. I've told Jason that, I talk to the other girls there, but I kind of am very off to the side by myself. And one thing I really did this year with the Arnold was I kept trying not to focus on what other girls were doing and to really focus on what I could do and not really worried about what other times and things other girls were putting up. And just really focus on what we had trained to do to get here. I'd struggled with the circus dumbbell all the way up to here, and I was really worried about that event being at the first event again and having that kind of first event kind of, not going to say curse, but things don't go as well in the first event. But me and Jake had really drilled that before we got here and just really focusing on, I'm not going to worry if somebody puts up 12 reps. I just need to do as best that I can do for that event, so...
And tell me if I'm wrong, you were afraid you weren't even going to get 1 rep with the circus dumbbell.
Yeah, my whole goal when I got here was just 1 rep on that event. Just don't zero the event. So
then she got 5, everybody who's listening. So you can surprise yourself when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the definition of surprise.
I think that's one of the I think that's one of the best parts about competition is that for a variety of reasons you'll do things in a competition you're never going to do inside the gym. You can test your maxes all the time in the gym, but until you're out on a platform or it's really difficult to know what you can do. So quite often maybe there's times when you don't perform as well as you'd like to, but there's also going to be those times when you do things you never thought you would do. So, I feel like people need to sort of test themselves in that way.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I know sort of how you got into strongman, Morgan, but I'm more interested why strongman.
I've always been into sports since high school. I was competitive in track and field and basketball in high school. So I guess I'll just start out after I had my son, I was up to 260 or 70 pounds. And then I started doing triathlons. And then Jason actually started at CrossFit a whole year before I did. And he kept telling me, oh, you'll really like CrossFit. You should come. I was like, I don't want to work out with people. I don't want to know people. I was like...
I feel like you didn't talk to anybody for a while. You just would do the workouts and leave.
That was pretty much the case. I didn't want to know a group of people. I was like, I just want to work out. And now it's the total opposite now at the gym. I can't come to the gym and not talk to people. Everybody's my friend. So it was kind of weird because I told Jason, I was like, I don't want to go to that gym. You're talking to people. You're going to potlucks. That's stupid.
Potlucks are stupid.
Community stupid. You heard it here.
Definitely. She was, you join CrossFit and then you're all about it. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I'm trying to get her to join. And, I'm going to, open workout parties and potlucks at the gym. And she's like, that's dumb. Why are you going to these things with people at the gym you don't even know? And she joins it. She loves it.
Yeah, I mean, I really got into the whole competitive edge of CrossFit, and then from there, Jake was really into strongman at that time, and he was having a contest, and he was like, "You should do it." And so a group of girls at the gym did the contest, and I really liked it, even though I finished dead last at the first contest. So.
Do you remember how far out did I try to convince you to do the competition? Was it like the week before, or was it a little bit more than that?
Probably the week before.
Because I do that a lot.
I think it was like maybe 3 weeks before the contest.
Plenty of time to prepare that.
So you gave good lead time on this one.
You had lots of time to train, a whole macro cycle.
Yeah,
Okay.
plenty of time. Well, I had Kat do that same one, right?
Yeah, she was a badass too.
But I gave her. She had like 3 days of preparation, which I've notorious doing. Back in the day, you couldn't hardly get any women to compete in strongman, and now it's a pretty solid group.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I just did a contest in December that was all ladies. There were 60 ladies competing, and to see from nationals, there was over like 100 girls that competed at nationals. I mean, the sport is getting big with women, and so.
Have you seen it grow in terms of participation by women since 2012?
I don't know if I've been in the sport long enough to say I've seen it grow, but definitely since I've started, we are able to actually break out and have weight classes now. Normally, most of the contests are all open because there's not a lot of women that compete, but now we're able to actually break out and have weight classes because there's enough women that are competing to have weight classes. So.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you got in, I think, just early enough to see some growth and go from, I feel like it's getting much more competitive every year. The local contests, still it's getting a little more competitive, but it seems like at least at the national level, you go there and there's, the very tight upper pack of girls. It's not like there's just, a huge separation between all the competitors, so.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, especially this year at nationals, there's really a group of girls, maybe like the top 10, that are just really fighting it out, really around the same strength levels. And that's just a really good thing to have, especially at that level, so you can really test and see where you are. So
I know a lot of times in some strength sports, as certain like weight classes and divisions are growing out, like you're not going to have that yet. You're just going to have, your couple of people up at the top and then sort of everybody else, a big spread. I know when I started strongman, it was sort of the same way where strongman had been around for a long time, and it had sort of a core group of people competing, but in the past, 5 or so years, it's grown a lot. So I got to see it go from, competitions where, just maybe a few lightweights here and there and not a whole lot of competitors, to then every year, at nationals, it was growing, and because of the growing population of people doing it, we saw weights go up quite a bit. Very dramatic rise in like sort of the challenge of the event. So it's an interesting time to see the sport grow. I'm sure that we're going to see in the next few years for women, I would imagine we're going to see the weights go up and the competitors continue to improve.
Yeah, and the introduction of more weird events. I don't know if I'm looking forward to this MAS wrestling coming into it.
You were really anti-MAS.
I am.
Describe it for people that are listening.
I guess it's more like you're sitting with your feet against a board and you're both holding onto a stick and you're trying to pull the stick out of the other person's hand.
It's just two women fighting over a stick.
Yeah, and the reason I'm so anti is because I feel like in strongman, I don't have to touch another girl. I think this is getting too close because I'm very competitive and I don't want to like rip the stick and like hit somebody with it.
I think you would have to intentionally do that.
Jake was saying yesterday that they used to, was it wrestle or grapple in strongman?
I think at a certain point in like old World's Strongest Man, they would have some sort of head-to-head events like that where you're like, it's like sumo wrestling or something. You're like forcing somebody out of a ring. I feel like that would be even better.
No, I
I feel like if that was one of the events yesterday, you could have won. I would love to see you have to take somebody out.
See you wrestling some big Russian chick and try to push her out of the ring. Yeah.
I don't want to touch another girl because I feel like I might catch a charge.
It's part of competition. No charges.
I think everything goes in competition.
As long as you don't kill anyone. Yeah.
So you know my upcoming strongman competition in September is going to have this.
I know. So
Isn't it at Chicago?
there's one in Chicago in May. They have the MAS wrestling. So
I feel like, okay, that we might have to rewind a tiny bit because lots of people probably don't know this. In strongman contests, there are no standardized events, essentially.
Right. Every strongman competition is very different.
They might use the same implements, whether it's farmers, which is the handles that you carry, the yoke, which you put on your back and walk with, stones, or things like that. But events are up to the organizer.
Yeah.
And can't they change at the last minute?
I mean, people don't like that when it happens, but sometimes due to sort of facility or equipment limitations, it does change, and that's sort of a little bit of that unknown is expected, or rule changes, things like that. It happens.
So are you saying that strongman is the original unknown and unknowable?
I feel like there's a lot of correlations between strongman and CrossFit.
I mean, you are seeing a lot more strongman events getting incorporated into the games too. So
Yeah, they've had like farmers carry and yoke, and especially in the team stuff, and like prowler pushes and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That gigantic rubber ball that's almost like an Atlas stone, except it doesn't hurt to pick it up.
Yeah, they had to toss it over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Or the pig event, sort of like a tire flip. They had to flip down a field.
So there's a lot of bleed over, crossover from the two sports.
Absolutely.
I'll keep the train going. What was it like being on the big stage yesterday, Morgan?
well, I always tell Jason I don't like for people to look at me when I lift.
That's a lie.
You had a whole bleacher like full of people watching
He
you.
thinks that it's not true. He thinks I really like to be in the spotlight.
She loves it.
But I honestly, when I was up there, I didn't see anybody. It was like this kind of weird, blank out. I didn't see anybody. I did hear Jake yelling different things at me. But I think yesterday the adrenaline was so strong, even when I came off the floor, my ears were ringing and I couldn't hear them talking to me for like 5 minutes. So adrenaline really kicked in yesterday with the crowd.
I feel like on the other hand, the crowd, and this is going back to sort of what it's like to compete, and like for first timers especially, it's like people are looking at you out there, but no one's ever like, what's that idiot doing? Like, why'd they drop that on themselves? Like I feel like there's never that. I mean, I know when I'm watching, I'm never thinking like, well, this person doesn't belong here.
Yeah, no one's laughing at you.
No, it's very much, I feel like it's a very supportive environment too. Like, I mean, there's a crowd there, they're watching you, but it's like, yeah, they're cheering for you, but they're not like, get out of here. What are you doing?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had a lot of people who came up to me afterwards, like, good job, man. I can't believe. I had people, like, the security guard asked me, like, how much do you actually deadlift? Like, I don't believe that, man. You pulled. That was the one thing yesterday, too. I pulled 375 twice from off a regular
Bam.
bar off the floor. I was pretty pumped about that. So, considering my old deadlift max was 385.
So you pulled, that's more than 90% of your
Yeah.
max twice.
I think that's also another crossover from CrossFit is the supportive, aspect of it. I mean, you always talk about, people cheering each other on to finish the workouts or doing well. And just, I don't compete in strongman, but watching Morgan, it's kind of the same thing. Even the people that you're competing against, they're cheering for you to keep going, to get another rep, because I guess they know, what it's like to train and compete in that same situation.
Absolutely.
Fans of the sport.
Yeah.
Everyone in the bleachers and on the field.
I mean, I think they're all like strongman, CrossFit, weightlifting are all sort of gym-based sports where it's like so much of your training is happening is like just building off of what everyone's doing in the gym. So I feel like maybe people can sort of relate to it really well. I mean, it's one thing to like look at a quarterback and be like, well, you can't do what they're doing.
Right.
So you can, I feel like you can just judge a little more harshly or be a little more critical of it. But if you're like, like, all right, when they're deadlifting out there, like I deadlift too all the time. I just can't deadlift that much or whatnot. It's like I feel like people can relate to it pretty good, and they're like, well, damn, I wouldn't want it to be like, I know what it's like to deadlift that. So it's like I wouldn't want people being like, oh, that person doesn't belong there.
Yeah, I will say I think Facebook too has helped with the strong women community. A lot of us keep a check on each other in our training, even though we don't talk to each other, we don't go to the same gyms. I know what somebody else is doing. with their training, how things are going with them. So I think that helps a lot too.
I hope you're not posting any of your videos.
No, I haven't.
You got to keep that secret.
I haven't posted anything.
Why are we keeping it secret?
We're here to win. We don't want to release secrets.
We got a
of
top
like,
secret training plan over at CrossFit RVA.
I'm just saying, if she's doing something, we don't need to know. We don't need people to be shooting for times and weights.
No, I think you should post it, but just sandbag it. Like only post the warm-ups. Yeah.
Or only post. We'll post warm-ups and failures.
Psychological warfare.
Be like, hey, here's me deadlifting 315, and here's me failing at like 400. You know, like what could she do? I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
What was your hardest event yesterday? Well, tell everyone first what all the events were.
So the first event was a circus dumbbell, 100-pound circus dumbbell for reps, 60 seconds. Second event was a super yoke. It was 450 pounds. You had to go 60 feet down and turn around and come 60 feet back.
And it was scored by who went the fastest?
Huh?
Down the lengths?
Yes.
Whoever did it fastest.
Yeah, whoever was the fastest, that's how it was scored.
440 pounds?
450. Yeah. The third event was the farmer's handles. So 2 farmer's handles. There's 190 pounds in each hand on these weird farmer's handles. It was very strange.
Bootleg farmer's handles.
And
They did. I don't remember who it was, but they did like our picture, one of our pictures on or Instagram yesterday. They found us. They're probably going to be listening to this in 4 weeks when it comes out.
We loved your farmer's handles.
That's what we meant to say.
No, we didn't.
Hey, sponsor the podcast.
But your farmer's handles suck. The fourth event was the Deadlift Medley. So it was a regular bar off the floor, 375, and then an axle bar for reps at 375 as well. And you were allowed to use straps if you wanted to, but you couldn't strap in before the event.
And for that one, you had to run to the regular bar, deadlift it twice, and then get to the axle bar and do that for reps.
That's how it's supposed to go.
That's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, an axle bar is, Jake, tell me the diameter.
2 inch.
2-inch
So
bar.
it's the same end. If you have an Olympic bar and you're sliding a plate over the end, it's the same, diameter all the way throughout.
So it essentially just destroys your grip.
Yeah, it's what they refer to. I guess if you watch the games, they call it the fat bar axle. It's very annoying
Stupid
when
name.
they'll say fat axle bar. So
So which event was your best for you mentally, and which one was the worst?
So the yoke was actually my best event yesterday. I placed third in that one, and normally I'm just really smooth and pretty consistent on the yoke. So, I mean, that was the goal. The floor was real slick yesterday. It was just not to drop it and remember to have quick feet and get down there and come back. So
I was definitely surprised with the number of drops I saw yesterday. I mean, I didn't think the weight was super heavy, but I mean, it just goes to show, and it's one of the things I like about strongman quite a bit, is that maybe you don't have to be like the strongest person in the gym, but if you're the person who didn't drop the yoke, like, it makes a big difference. I mean, it can just be a little bit of technical consistency or a little bit of speed. It's not just there's not one way to win. It's like there's a lot of different things that add up to doing well in an event.
yeah, I think the thing with a yoke is more adapting to the type of yoke that they have. And I think I do that pretty well, whether it's, a thinner yoke that's more solid or the big dog yoke that's very solid. It's just knowing how I need to get it to not swing on me when I first pick it up. So,
Right.
And I don't think a lot of girls sometimes can do that as well. They're used to using the big dog. And then when they get a different yoke, it kind of messes with their mind a little bit.
What was the difference between the big dog and the one yesterday?
The big dog weighs more. Like, it's like 440, with no unloaded.
Yeah.
So
it won't swing as much. It'll feel a little more stable. So a lot of people like that.
The one yesterday swung a lot.
Oh, yeah, it had a lot of swing in it. So you actually had to do a really good job picking your yoke height on it, making sure that, I think a lot of girls might have picked a little bit too much clearance, and it had a lot of swing when they first went to move, and it kind of hit the floor, or they were either too little clearance, and it was just, scraping the floor the whole time. So
I feel like a lot of that comes down to competition experience, and we do get to train on a couple different yokes around Richmond too. So you've seen a lot of them. You've seen the big dog one several times. You've seen ones that got put together by someone's uncle in a backyard, but then you get to go down to the weight room, which has a very different yoke, which a lot of people find challenging. And then you hop on ours, so it's a good experience there.
yeah, I definitely felt that the yoke that we used yesterday was more attuned to the yoke at the weight room. So big shout out to Chris for letting us use his yoke. So
Felt like being at home.
yeah.
And so the yoke was your best event. What would you say was your worst?
I would say it was again, yesterday I really, for the first time, I feel like the events were kind of solid all the way across.
Yeah, I should caveat this with Morgan did really good, so there weren't really any events that were like horrible.
I will say, in terms of worst, I would say an event I would like to take back and do better at would definitely be the deadlift. I kind of replayed that one in my mind yesterday, and I think Jake might have been right. I think I was gripping the bar instead of pulling up on the straps, and I couldn't get the straps to work for me. I normally don't strap in with my deadlift. I just use my grip and kind of rip it, but as I was trying to think on how I'd put the straps on the bar, I don't think I was pulling, just letting my hands relax and just pulling up with my arms. So
Right.
It's tough. You got your adrenaline going, and you had just pulled 2 really heavy deadlifts. And I will also say that learning how to really use the straps well is something we tackled like 4 days ago. We like to do things last minute.
She was really prepared. So I'm gonna replay that for everyone a little bit. You sprinted to the first bar, which had 375 on it.
yeah, and I pulled it, and it felt easy. I mean,
Super easy.
it came up. I think my split time for that was like 10 seconds on that. I looked at that. It was 10 seconds.
Yeah, I
You
think
had-
I
you
looked
had
at
60 seconds.
the other girl. Oh, sorry. Continue.
You had 60 seconds to get to the axle bar.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I basically spent 50 seconds struggling with the axle. So
I wish. I don't think they only posted the split time. So I think there was 2 people that got the deadlifts but didn't do any on the straight bar, and then didn't do any on the axle, right?
yeah, the girl from Australia that's actually sitting in second she only pulled the straight bar, and I think her split was like 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that you pulled it way faster. I think you probably pulled those first 2 deadlifts on just a normal bar a lot faster than people who maybe did top 3 in the event. At least it seemed that way.
I feel like she got to the axle before anybody.
A lot of people were strapping up for those the first ones and taking their time. I think you just kind of knocked it right out.
yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how we train. I mean, again, I know we said we didn't play with the straps till 4 days before, but I usually don't train with straps, so grip is never really an issue for me pulling a deadlift. So
I think we had been doing the axle. We had been doing axle deadlifts for a while, but I think we just didn't quite realize what that challenge would be like once getting up to contest weight.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be as difficult as it was. So again, I wish I could have that one back, because I think I did the math, and if I would have had 4 reps on that, I would have been sitting in 4th, moving on to day 2. So.
And then day 2 is on Sunday,
Right.
and that's where who gets their pro card, the top.
The women
2?
don't get their pro
I don't
card,
think
right?
the women get their pro card. They just win some prizes.
Cash money?
Which I think is fine. The pro card's there for I think a pretty specific reason to sort of give guys a path to be pros and then go on to compete at higher level competitions than that. But there's really not for the women, there's just not something there. Like the middleweight and lightweight women, there's this is as high as it gets as Arnold.
Yeah, there's not an avenue for us to get any higher yet. There's nothing out there other than just the Arnold right now.
Not until Jake does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
I shouldn't say that.
Done. Can't do anything else.
So now that the Arnold's over, what's your next focus? What are you going to work on when you train, and then what contest are you going to compete in?
It's actually quite interesting, because before I got up to the Arnold, I told Jason, I was like, I'm taking a 2-month break. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with training. I was like, I'm going to go to CrossFit for 2 months.
Your quitting of Strongman was budgeted.
She's quitting again.
It was already squared away.
She makes it to the pinnacle of middleweight female strongman, and now she's gonna quit.
Well, she didn't say she was retiring. She basically said that she said she was gonna just take a break because she just was kind of worn out from training. But like, I think yesterday showed her like how competitive she can be with like, you know, the top women. So last night she was, you know, looking up how to sign up for this event in Chicago so she can qualify for the Arnold next year. And like, we're gonna go on Sunday to the finals, like which is on like the main stage, kind of, you know, motivation to get there next year. So I think that break is out the window at this point.
Yeah, I have to get in Jake's ear about when he's going to post some more programming now.
I think I got to do it tomorrow.
He's gonna do it while we're driving home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think there'll be a break in story. I think Jason's right. Last night I thought about it, and I think I want to still continue to grow and be competitive. So I don't want to stop training right now. So
Yeah, I feel like the Arnold sort of proved that there was, you know, nothing about nationals was a fluke. It was like you showed now that you belong there, and that, you know, maybe there's things to work on, but it's not like, you know, this is where a good place for you to be. You can continue to be more competitive, you know.
If anyone sees Morgan in the gym training, they know that she's definitely earned her spot. That was an earned spot for sure. And I mean, I don't care what the showing was. You did really good, but if you didn't do really good, you definitely earned the right to be there with the amount of work you put in.
Well, thank you. I put a shout out on the CrossFit page for everybody I've almost ran over this week with the yoke. I know the Open's going on, and there was a huge crowd in the gym during the Open, and I almost took out like 5 people with the yoke this week. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for letting me train.
What would you, like as a closing thought, what would you say to a girl who's thinking about trying strongman?
I just think you should just jump in there and do it. I mean, you'll never know what you can do until you try it. It's a unique and different sport, and the community is really supportive. We've had a ton of new girls jump in and try it this year from our own gym. And I think they're really going to surprise themselves when they get out there and start getting competitive. Jake's doing a great job with all of our girls that are training, so I am very excited to see with the group of girls that we have at our gym what they're going to do later on down the road this year.
I think that's important that, you know, to note that we do have a good group of girls already training, some experienced competitors in there. We have all the equipment, so it's like it's a pretty easy thing to do. You just really have to say, I want to do a contest, and like everything's sort of laid out for you. So it's an easy path. It's an easy thing to get into. And, you know, especially if you've been doing CrossFit for a while, a lot of the movements that you'll do in training, you've already been doing the whole time.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little yesterday at dinner. I feel like CrossFit helps me be a lot more competitive in strongman because of that cardio background that you get from CrossFit. I mean, I feel like I can jump into a CrossFit workout and still be fairly competitive in CrossFit and still, you know, come back to strongman as well. So
Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Morgan almost killed herself during her first contest, and now she's at the top.
Peak strongman.
Peak.
The peak.
Number 8 in the world.
it's
Not in the country, in the world.
world.
We can now say she's the best. She beat the best what Australia and the UK had to offer.
She's the strongest woman in Australia.
And the UK now.
you guys are a little crazy.
CrossFit RVA, home of the 8th strongest woman in the world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's going in the history books.
You guys got any final thoughts? The Germans.
I guess we were talking about this earlier. If you're a girl and you're interested in doing strongman or even CrossFit, I mean, don't be afraid to try it. I think a lot of people too, now that they've seen, you know, CrossFit's become a lot more commercial, they're afraid to come into CrossFit gyms. And I don't think that should ever be your mindset. I mean, the community, like I said, is really supportive. I can't speak enough about the community at our gym. They're some of our, you know, really, really good friends. And, you know, aside from that, we get a good workout in too. So
I think that just like strongman, CrossFit, weightlifting, I think there's been a shift. I know it's a small community, but a shift in, you know, and I guess in the way women are looked at or how some women look at themselves. I mean, it's cool to see, women wanting to be strong and being proud of that, and the whole, not afraid of having muscles and things like that. I mean, I think that's pretty cool, and so I think watching that continue to grow is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very interesting comment that Jason just made, is women not being afraid to have muscles. I mean, being really confident in your body image. Maybe having to buy a larger size shirt because my traps are too big.
You're jacked.
and the shirt doesn't fit. But you're in a community where that's supported here, where people are like, man, you're really jacked. And so I think that's a good thing.
Remember that time you went to Puerto Rico, or was it Costa Rica?
It's Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and that you, everyone on the street was like making you flex.
Yeah, I had to stop for pictures because apparently I keep telling Jake though I'm not that jacked. What happens is because I am of darker complexion.
You have lats like a stingray.
No, it's because I'm black. Because you know how people go and they're orange here at bodybuilding so you can see their muscles.
But you naturally have that.
I naturally have my orange, so you can see my definition well in my muscles. So
that's for a later podcast, I think.
And a wonderful place to wrap things up.
I think so. I had a great time. I think Morgan did awesome. We've also had a fun time hanging out after the Arnold. And I'm glad this happened, and I hope to see you compete and qualify next year for the Arnold.
Yes. Pending no child.
That's not allowed yet. Let's wrap it up.
Jake.
Literally.
Jake, I'll let you sign this one.
Remember, guys, it's just exercise.
When